Okay, guys, I'm here today with Zack Telander. This has been a long time coming because we talked about doing this last summer. It never happened. I got burnt out, but I'm gonna, get things going again here. And Zack, many of you know from YouTube, obviously, your channel's growing like crazy. I've seen you traveling around all over the place. Were you just in Miami with Jordan Shallow?
Yeah, I was. Yeah. Just this past weekend, I trained with Jordan, did a podcast with him, you know, did a podcast with Matt Fraser, and this guy called Craig Ritchie. He's like a big CrossFit YouTuber. So I got a lot of stuff done in Miami. And that the event there was called Wadapalooza, and it's a CrossFit event. And it's like every time I go to one of those things, I just realize like the juggernaut that is CrossFit. Like, the amount of like just rabid fans that they have and consumers, it is an absolute juggernaut. I have no other way to describe it. It is like the most serious wave of fitness culture that I think people still treat it like it's underrated. Like I've been to, I don't know how many fitness expos, and this was CrossFit only, and it was just massive, man. So it's becoming like a really great place to network because there's a lot of athletes there who go to the booths, at like the Rain booth and other companies like that. So it's definitely a worthwhile thing to go to. It's like it has the same vibe as like the Arnold Classic, and it was just wild to kind of put myself in that position again, and surround myself with like a lot of other people in the industry.
Yeah, I know. Don't they have the CrossFit Games down in Madison, Wisconsin? Because that's where I'm from.
Yeah, yeah,
So I never got to
yeah.
check it out because I'd already moved on from there. But have you ever been over there?
I haven't. I went to the CrossFit Games in, I think it was either 2015 or 16. It was the last year they were in Carson, California, and it was really, really fun. Like it was really cool, really well organized. Just like people are into it, man. That's all. That's all there is to it. Like people are just excited to be around it, and you know, I understand why people dislike it and love to make fun of it. It's fun to make fun of. Like I make fun of it, but like at the same time, like it's just here and it's been here and it's going to continue to stay here. And every time I go to, like I said, every time I go to these events, I realize how big it is. And we kind of just have to just like move on. Like it's one of the things like powerlifting, weightlifting, strongman, CrossFit. It's like involved. It's not, and bodybuilding, I guess, would be as well in that category too.
Well, I think everyone's going to troll me for this, but when I hung out with Athlete X over the summer, the Athlete X Games thing he puts on is very much like CrossFit. You're going from one thing to another. Takes about 10 minutes, and that killed me. I mean, I was in good shape. Like I'd been running upwards of 10 miles a day at different times, and I got smoked on that course. And that was almost like basically copying CrossFit. So those guys are in the sickest shape ever. Like truthfully, I
Dude,
think those are the most.
let me tell you, man, I'm a big dude. I'm 6'4", 250 pounds. And there's a lot of like, I'd say the average size of CrossFitters probably like 5'9", 5'10". They're not that short. Like obviously the greatest CrossFitter of all time, Matt Fraser, is 5'7". But when I walked past one of the heat of elite men, I mean, it was like 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2", 6'4". And one of the workouts was with the team of three. It was three overhead. So one person does 3 overhead squats. The other person does 2 front squats, and the other person does 1 jerk. And they have 2 rounds of that. And it's just for weight. And one of the groups had a guy one of the guys on the team did 3 overhead squats with 335 pounds or 152 kilos. Okay. The other person in the group did 2 front squats, and it was like 396, so like 180. And then the last guy did a jerk at 407 pounds. So it was,
Yeah.
so it was like, 185, 186 or something. Like, guys, my greatest jerk ever was 400 pounds. My greatest front squat ever front squat double ever was 400 pounds. My greatest overhead squat was God, I don't know, like maybe 340 for a single. And I trained my 7 straight years, almost a decade for Olympic weightlifting. And here are some dudes who have to do God knows how much shit beforehand, being able to match that. Like these guys are really, really freaky, like really freaky. And I don't know. I think it's just weird. It's just a weird thing. It's not bad. It's not good. It's just kind of like fucking wild, man. It's wild. And there were so many fans, like the stadiums were packed with people. So it's exciting. And, like I said, we can't continue to look at like CrossFit like it's this downtrodden weird thing just because they do butterfly pull-ups. Like a lot of these guys are freaks, and they could be very good at weightlifting. I know that. And they could likely be very good at powerlifting. And you know who Alex Bromley is?
Yes.
Yeah, he's an awesome YouTuber. I love his stuff. He's also a really good strongman, and we talked about this on his podcast, and we said that the weight class, like CrossFitters, could be very good in the weight class divisions of strongman.
Wow.
So and he was like, absolutely, I 100% agree with that. They have insane endurance, and their grit is like second to none.
Now, do you think, because obviously PEDs are all over, how much of a role do you think PEDs play in CrossFit right now? Do you think it's at the upper level? Obviously.
Yeah. What's interesting about CrossFit is that, I would imagine actually cycling off isn't that detrimental, because there are so many different factors of what you need to be good at. You obviously won't be in peak shape when you cycle off of something. But I think because they don't have to be pointedly good at one specific thing, it's like they can kind of adapt to the way that the competition is set up. And they can surprise themselves if they were to be doing steroids. I think very effective drug for that sport would be EPO. I think that a lot of the peptides, a lot of pro hormones, growth hormone, and then your standard testosterone. Like, I think it all would work very well. I think though, you would have to watch out for the size that you are. Like it's not always ideal to carry as much muscle as possible. There's actually quite a few of those guys who they're not built like bodybuilders, and they don't have like obvious kind of steroid use signs to them. So in that instance, it's kind of like real sports performance, the way that they're trying to look or act. But again, this is all speculation. We'll never be able to prove anything unless some sort of test comes through as a positive. And whatever people's issues are with that, like, so be it. But that's really the way things work. Everyone can speculate till the end of days, but we have to deal with what we're given. Personally, I don't care about the sport of CrossFit. I like seeing some of the stuff that they can do. I'm friends with some elite competitors, and I think what they do is really cool. And the way that they're actually professional athletes now, like they make a living wage. Like I would say the top 20 CrossFitters are making 6 figures now from sponsors and things like that, which isn't like phenomenal if you're a pro athlete, but it's pretty damn good. It's livable for sure. But yeah, like I think steroids, it's just it wears people down. Like personally, like I don't have too much of an issue having like a nuanced discussion on it, but I think people just don't have the time of day to do that. So they just get frustrated. And then the automatic response is they're all on drugs. They all do drugs. Like black, white. It's just here's what's happening, and it's like, I can give them as much nuance and differences and people who've gotten caught and people who are like actually natural and they do really well. And sometimes naturals do really bad. Sometimes people on gear do really well. And sometimes people on gear do really bad. Like that doesn't matter to them. They just get frustrated and immediately just throw their comment out there. Because at the end of the day, they got to go to work, they got to pay taxes, they got to pay their bills. They're not in this lifestyle. They just want to be able to watch shit without having this like moral, ethical discussion.
Yeah, and I mean, I think steroids are a thing at all upper levels of sport. Like in the NFL, I mean, I can't look at some of these guys, Myles Garrett, um, Danielle Hunter. There's a bunch of guys I can name basically, but looking at them, there's no way I can think like these guys are natural. So I mean,
Well,
I
so
think,
like
and I'm not gonna you can't make the assumption either necessarily. Like
so like a guy like Myles Garrett, like I actually trained him for a little bit. So when I was at
wow,
Texas, yeah. Well, I
okay,
didn't. It wasn't me who did it. Like it was I. So what happened was after I think it was his senior season or junior season when he decided to go pro. They fired the strength coach because they had such a bad season. They didn't want to fire. I forget the guy's. Was it Sumlin? I think it was Kevin Sumlin or something. Maybe no, I don't know who it was. They didn't want to fire the coach, so they had to like have a scapegoat. So they got rid of the strength and conditioning coach, a couple other people, and his whole staff was taken with him. And Myles wanted to train with the staff still, but they had nowhere to train out of, so they moved over to Olympic Sports at Texas A&M. So the assistant football strength and conditioning coach came over to Olympic Sports. So in Division I athletics at the top, football has their own training facility. Basketball usually has their own training facility. Some places baseball has their own training facility. And then Olympic sports kind of all get lumped in together unless the Olympic sport is really good, right? Then like maybe the hockey team or something gets their own, I don't know, gets their own facility. But the football strength and conditioning coach or assistant came over to Olympic Sports where I was working, and Myles came with him. So Myles was preparing for the NFL draft. And so like that family is the freakiest family like I've ever seen ever walk this earth. Like his older sister was actually more athletic than him. She came into Texas A&M to run track, and they moved her over to throwing, and she broke the NCAA record within like months for the weight throw, which is like, it's kind of like hammer, but it's indoor. She was an absolute freakazoid, dude. I'm talking, if I was to teach her how to, power clean, she could probably power clean like 130 kilos. Like I'm not kidding you. Within months would be power cleaning 130 kilos. Myles, I watched him train. I watched it in person. My God, he was scary. It was frightening. And what I was supposed to do, I would hold the clock when he was running. I would count reps when he was doing bench press testing. I would never hold mitts for him when he was doing boxing. The coach who did held mitts for Myles, and the next few days his hands were like opening and close them. But I happen to believe that if there is anyone on earth that it has the genetics to be what they are, it's Myles Garrett. Now, having said all of that, I'll never know. And we could both speculate. Yeah, sure. He could be messing around, dabbling. Who knows? Who would ever know? But I'm inclined to believe that dude like is honest to God freaky as shit. Now, the thing that I think drugs really play into this is when money becomes the reason. So like, I think a lot of these guys love glory. They love like the fact that they love recognition. They love to be like, drafted and then gain fame and recognition. That's what we all do to a certain extent. And once you get established and once you get recognized, now you have to make more money. And the only way to make more money is to be in the shit longer. Like the longest NFL player, the one who could play in the NFL the longest, is the richest. So that's when you start thinking about, okay, growth, a lot of peptides to recover, small amounts of testosterone, just anything to allow you to not fucking die. that's where I think sports performance, that's where I think the drugs come in with a lot of these guys. My theory is there are some players who are incredible natural athletes for a long, long time, and they make it all the way to the top. They could even win championships as a natural. But when they continue and then you see them get better, you're like, that's a little, that's like, you need to tamper it down a little bit. It's coming too obvious. We got pitchers who are basically turning 40 who are throwing the same speed that they were when they were 23. You got pitchers now throwing shutouts. Roger Clemens is one of them. He got better the older he got. Like, as a pitcher, that is impossible. And so that's where I think the performance enhancing drugs, at least in the team sports and the high money making sports, I think that's where it comes in a lot.
Well, another example, if people remember Dara Torres from the Olympic swimmer who was beating everybody in her 40s. And her times were all faster than 10 years before. But Myles Garrett, and that makes sense. I wasn't singling him out necessarily. I know it sounded like that, but that was just someone who I'm like, who's the most jacked guy in the NFL? What were some of his freakiest lifts? Were you around?
Okay, I got you.
Let's hear this.
So he had a bum ankle and he was running 4.5s easy.
And so his ankle,
his ankle was fucked up, dude. And he was running 4.5s. This is in preparation for the draft. I think it was either 4.5s or 4.6s. Either way, that's flying. People drop 4.4. People are like, oh, 4.4, 4.3, 4.2. Shut the fuck up. No one runs that. Okay. When they do run that, they go to the NFL and they're drafted very high. It does happen. Okay. But the average, no, it's very hard to run a 4.4. Okay. You're a fucking certified freak. 4.6s at that weight and that height are incredibly fast. Okay. But he was casually running them, I believe. Then we were doing the bench press testing. And what we were doing was it was a minute of as many reps as you could get. So, or it was 30-second bouts of as many reps as you could get. And he would do a set and then he would kind of do some other shit and he would then rest for 10 minutes and then do it again. And he would just do it again. And I remember sitting there, no arch in his back whatsoever. I'm not even close to having an arch in his back. Almost his shoulders were coming forward like this and just narrow grip, just like this. 21 reps with 225 in 30 seconds and then racking and then going and running around, doing the same thing again. 225 with no arch, it just literally, it's the triceps extension and maybe some anterior delt or whatever, just punching it away from his body. It just explodes away from him. And it doesn't look like a bench press. I'm telling you right now. And then the scariest thing was watching him throw hands, was watching him do conditioning by boxing. Because he was obsessed with Muhammad Ali. So he was if I could do boxing for my conditioning, I'm going to do it. And it was frightening. I could hear the thuds, the boom of him hitting the mitts. And it's a similar feeling to when me and my buddy went out into this farm country and we just started shooting the AR as hard as we could, just bang, 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 as fast as we could. And it would shake our chest. And we were that type of feeling. It was the same feeling when I was standing 5 feet away from Myles as he's throwing hands. Just watching him do all of the drills for the combine and how explosive and just aggressive he was. And he would sometimes he would yell while he was doing reps and shit. I wish people could realize the pinnacle of athleticism that man was. I personally don't think I'll ever be in the presence of something like that again in my life, ever.
What did you ever see him? That's crazy. That's so funny that you knew him. Did you ever see him do a heavy squat or deadlift or anything?
No.
Okay. They didn't do anything like that?
No fucking way, dude.
It's just so fascinating. What would he hit if he did a powerlifting meet? I'd be so curious.
It's so weird to think about things in that way though. Powerlifting, it's just a time thing sometimes. You can't just in order for him to be a powerlifter, it would take a decade, and then we would see the strongest man on earth. But a decade, you know how much different shit could happen in your life in a decade? You know what I mean? It's not just like oh, well, he's a freak of nature athlete. He's got incredible genetics. Yeah, he'd probably be a good power lifter, but there's a decade of work before he could be like the greatest of all time. And there's so many things that could happen in the meantime, and all of the, the different stuff. It's not like being a freak athlete in football is really that much powerlifting adjacent, if you will. It's one thing I think Lasha, if we were to take Lasha and try to make him into a powerlifter, I think it would take a lot long. I think it would be an arduous process. It'd be a scary one. The weights he'd be dealing with would be very frightening. And I don't think he's ever even touched weights even close to what he's capable of, like literally not even in the fucking wheelhouse of what he's capable of. But I think that he would have one of the scariest deadlifts in the world, and his squat would be insane as well. But that's a powerlifting adjacent athlete. So that's more of an easy thing to conceptualize. But a guy like Myles Garrett, it's like a guy like Myles Garrett, all I would do is kind of work on some mobility, flexibility, get some light weights on him, get some pump going. I would do a lot of unilateral work, just a lot of explosive stuff that's just in and out of the gym, in and out of the gym, something that just makes him feel like he's got an edge. He could basically not touch weights and just be totally fine for like literally the rest of his life. Like, I'm not even kidding you. To see a 300-pound man with like chiseled abs at 6'8"
It's
running,
unreal.
it is like, it's beyond what I could comprehend as possible. Like I'm a tall, like I'm a big dude, and just in it frame wise. And I have 250 pounds on me, and I only have like visible abs on the top. You know what I'm saying? Cause like I have a bit of fat. Like I can't even imagine having 250 pounds with like really visible abs and like 10% body fat. You know how fucking insane that is to have like 10% body fat at 250 pounds? Now imagine that at 300 pounds or 290 or 280. Like that is just frightening.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I've seen the pictures, and he just is like he's the most jacked guy basically in the NFL, and there's a lot of them.
You remember Adrian Peterson?
Yes, Michael Pittman's another one.
Do you remember the video of him taking his shirt off at the combine?
I don't know if I've seen that one, but I know.
How old are you?
31.
Okay, we're same age. Well,
oh,
I'm
you're
a little
31?
bit. I'm 30, 32.
Okay.
So there was, I forget when he was drafted. But it was like him. And do you remember Brady Quinn?
Oh yeah.
Quarterback for Notre Dame. I think he was a Heisman front runner or something. Didn't actually get the Heisman. Maybe he did get the Heisman.
I'm not
but
sure.
Him and Adrian Peterson, I don't know if they were the same draft, but I remember them having their shirts off. They like took their shirts off, and they looked insane. They looked so good. But Adrian Peterson was one of those dudes that for me, it was just like, he did it. Like, I was like, I've never seen anything like that, dude. He looked like like an anime cartoon character, just like a Super Saiyan. And it was so cool to look at. Like,
what? You've been around a lot of people. Who's the most impressive person you've seen in person? Besides those guys, besides the NFL guys.
I was in the room when Lasha, I've been in the room where Lasha will snatch like 200 kilos for a double. That was like literally, it's kind of weird watching weightlifting at that level, because you just don't get it. Because it's like, it's one thing to see a deadlift at like, 900 and be like, okay, that guy's dying in front of me. But it's another thing to see someone snatch near 500 pounds and like, you just have no idea what's going on like internally, because the weight just moves in such a way that you just like don't realize, I think Lasha's probably it. Who else? I mean, watching Clarence lift was pretty crazy, and I hate to say it because he's a good friend and I like to give him shit, but it's like, watching him lift and being around him in person was pretty wild. You
And
know,
I
it
mean,
was like,
you've done 142.5 on snatch, so you've done some pretty freaking sizable weight as well. So, but I understand where 220 is almost like a different realm. That's just like an
it's crazy. It's
entirely
crazy.
different thing.
So like it's a number that's like so elusive, and maybe you can think of it and you can compare it to powerlifting, but basically 210 kilos is like, that's the cutoff of like, not many people who have ever walked this earth have ever snatched 210.
Okay.
So what Lasha was doing was like making 210 easy.
Wow.
Like that's not a thing, and we're talking about all of the eras, like the golden eras of weightlifting. If you hit 210, you're winning. You're like the greatest, and then watching Lasha double 210 in the training hall. So like he would go snatch 210, he'd walk away, think a little bit, chalk his hands, walk right back up. And he doesn't take very long on the bar. He steps up, grabs, takes a deep breath and goes. So like probably 210, 30 seconds off, 210. To do that in a training hall leading up to a competition, like that is where we're at. Like that, people need to understand that is so insane. People were comparing, it's not Pisarenko, but Taranenko. So Taranenko did 266 clean and jerk. And
Wow.
and I don't know what he ever snatched. I think he was right around 210. And people were like, yeah, but he'll never surpass Taranenko. He ended up surpassing him. But I was like, people need to understand, like, Lasha isn't just better than these guys. He's so much better than them. He's doing what he has snatched 210, I think, in competition more than like almost all, like there's some stat where like he snatched 210 like 10 times more than the next closest guy, 210 and higher. And I don't know what number is that for the deadlift. I know like Jamal Browner is fucking things up. Like he's kind of changing what people thought was possible. And I know John Hack is kind of doing the same. But I don't know what that number is in each lift, if you could tell me.
I mean, I guess for deadlift, it would have to be 500 kilos, right? That'd probably be the equivalent.
Yeah, I guess so.
But do you think anyone ever is going to snatch 500 pounds?
227? I don't know, man. Lasha did 225, so it was like,
oh, he was that close. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I think he did 225, or he might be 222. Might be 222.
Well,
let me look that up,
man. Wow.
Lasha.
See that? I didn't realize that. If he was that close, that's freaking unreal. Because
when he did 220, it was like
lightning.
Like it was fucking weird. Oh, so he did 225 in. Oh no, he did 225 in competition.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's I can't imagine throwing 500 pounds in a snatch over my head. That's clean and jerk. That would be nasty. I just can't even imagine.
Wait, Jordan. Sorry, let me see this. Yeah, so but he's done it in training and competition. Yeah, so it's just wild. So you would say 500 kilos, but I guess like that's kind of those are weird ones because you get it's like you're talking about Thor and you're talking about Eddie Hall.
I don't know. It's well, the thing too, like powerlifting's progressed so much now that the numbers just keep getting blown out of the water every year. They're getting more and more impressive. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Jamal's shit is wild to me. Did you see that? Did you see that deadlift?
He pulls 1,000 pounds in training like on a weekly basis. That's really
what I'm talking about, man.
I'm like, I don't get it.
Why are people not talking about this?
Well, he is probably the most, honestly, I'd say he's the most famous guy right now in powerlifting, and then Hack.
He better be. And then what's the other? Russell.
Oh yeah, Larry, of course, Larry Wheels.
Yeah.
But there's Russ. There's Russ on the tested side of things, and then on the untested, it's Hack and Jamal are the well-known guys. Those and Shane
Jamal
Hunt
started in tested, right?
Yeah,
And so did
Jamal.
Hack.
Oh, his best deadlift tested, and this doesn't mean much because he probably jumped on before he was even close to his peak naturally, just like I did. I jumped on at like 20. I didn't care. Um, but he was around 350 naturally before he jumped on. And
Mhm.
he probably could have gotten way further than that, but that's what his deadlift was at naturally. And then he's just blowing everything out of the water now because he hopped on and blew up fast. I remember because no one had even known about him. Kaylor Woolham was the guy at the time, and Jamal came out of nowhere. No one knew who this guy was, and he pulled 900 for 5, and we were all just like, "What the heck did we just see?" And then he
Yeah.
just blew up, and now look where he is. He's so well known, and those guys coincidentally train at the same gym now because
Who? Kaylor and Jamal?
they're not far from me. No, Russ and Jamal.
Oh,
They're
they're
in
in Houston,
Houston
right?
because you're in Austin,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I gotta get with those guys, bro.
Dude, you get it. There's so many good lifters now in Houston. That's like the mecca now.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. At least
So
for powerlifting.
yeah,
Austin is very fitness forward, but it's kind of like woo woo spiritual shit. Um, but it's kind of cool. Just the like health space is big here, but
you
yeah,
got Nick Bear there.
that's true. I did some stuff with him. That's where I deadlifted 300. Was at Nick Bear's
I
place.
saw that, dude. What's the
Yeah.
plan now? I know you said you got to go for 7, right?
Uh man, I got to be honest with you. Like I put like for the next week, I had some like weird PTSD where like I didn't feel comfortable even touching a barbell. Like I don't know, it was weird. It felt like I got hit by a car. Like 2, 3 days later, I was like, "Whoa, dude! I don't even want to be in the weight room right now." And I've never felt like that in my life. It wasn't even like that was a 15 kilo PR. So that was like beyond my life, like my whole life flashed before my eyes on that. That was literally, it was fucking crazy. Like I wasn't supposed to lift that weight on that day. And then when I did it, I was freaking out. Like obviously it was like ridiculous that I even considered doing that. And I did it. And then I'm not kidding you, dude. Like it felt weird. Like I didn't want to be in the weight room. I didn't want to look at a barbell. I like, it scared me because my body was like, in a crazy place, dude. And I know you've been through that. That's what powerlifting's all about.
Was it? Do you think it was central nervous system fatigue or what?
Yes, yes. It literally, like, it honest to God felt like I'd been in a car crash. Like my body was just like, yo, that was really fucked up what you just did to me. Like, we need to stop. We need to like figure things out for the next week. You know, it's only 300 kilos like comparatively to like guys my size who are in the 350s or getting near 400, but the fact that it was 15 kilos heavier than I'd ever done before, that was like the crazy part about it. And it was a big deal, man. Big deal. So having said all that, it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't really care that.
Okay.
I don't, it sounds so weird, but it's like, I just don't feel it anymore. Like I don't feel like I want it, 700, that is.
Well, then what? Okay, that makes sense. Honestly, I totally get that. But
It's, I sound like such a pussy, but like, it was a pretty real thing where I'm like, all right, I kind of want to go back to being athletic, feeling good and moving around and staying kind of strong. But who knows? Who knows what the next phase of life for me, like I'm not counting anything out, but for me, it's just not on the things that I want to do is deadlift 700 because I know now what it takes. And that's an extra fucking 40 pounds. So an extra 18 kilos. Like, God, that's a mountain to climb.
well, so I take it a powerlifting meet is out of the question. You don't have interest in that or anything.
I don't know. I don't know. I think I could do one. I think it would be fun to get my bench press up to like 150, which I think that's doable because I am at the point now where like, so I had like a really, really bad bench. I'm talking like my chest just like didn't work type of bench. And then I worked at it really hard and it got a little bit better. And then I like hit a cool PR for me, which is 315. And then I didn't train bench like really at all. And then I did 316 pounds. I just threw like an extra pound plate on, and I beat it. And I think it's just because I'm getting older. Like I think your bench, if you don't train it like a psycho, like it just kind of goes up as you become more of a man. So it'd be cool to like actually give a shit and bench really hard and just see what I could get. Like I think 150 is not out of the question at all. 7 kilos in the bench. Like if I just do bench 3 times a week, like probably get it. So that could be really fun. I also think if I cut my squat a little bit shorter than it used to be. So I squat higher. And I PR'd my squat by a kilo, just to PR it. And I kind of trained it pretty hard, actually. I was training the deadlift and the squat pretty hard. But I feel like I could definitely PR that. It's just now thinking about a stiff bar, calibrated plates, deadlifting 700 pounds, like that scares me.
Well, so what's your squat PR then? Is it around, wasn't it like 228? Or am I way off?
No, you're right. It's 231. So
Okay.
509, I think.
Yeah, I was close.
Yeah.
Would you say what are some other goals then for you as well? Like what are the main goals, whether it's even in the gym or outside? Because obviously your channel's blowing up, you've been traveling a lot.
My goal is the reason why I started the podcast was because it allows me to network with people and have conversations with people without asking them to do too much. And that's something that I really like. If I would appreciate if I was them. So for instance, let's say I wanted to do a collaboration with Matt Fraser. Hey, Matt, do you want to do a workout? Okay. This weekend we're in Miami. He's got a crazy busy schedule. To take time out, get himself prepared, give me the hour and use his physical ability. That's a lot. But if to take time out and just sit down and have a conversation, okay, he can do that. And so that's where I wanted to go. I want to be able to expand in that front and interview anyone and everyone. Like I don't give a shit just about fitness. In fact, the most interesting part about people that I appreciate the most is the stuff that isn't really the dry training stuff, and I think for me, that's where I want to expand because, it's kind of like if you're picking a partner to live with your entire life, it looks fade, and you want something that's substantial that you can kind of substantial ground that you can grow and continue to grow as you age through life. And so in the same thing, it's like, YouTube content that is just using my physical body and trying to be creative, like that's going to age. And I want to have good relationships and a good following and people who like me for me, and like what I'm doing to continue with me for a long time. And if I have another avenue to do that, that's where I want to go. That is, honest to God, my main goal right now. So, yeah, that's it. I mean, another thing too, like with someone like you, the reason why I think like I like Pete Rubish so much was because the nostalgia. So watching your training when I was training, and then kind of seeing you go on this journey of coming off of drugs and being really positive. And I know it's hard. I know it's fucking brutal. And I know you're probably going through a lot of mental shit. There's probably a lot of turmoil, and just kind of molding those two things together in my mind make you an interesting guy and a guy that I want to engage with. You see, that's much different than being like, I want to train with Pete Rubish. You see what I mean? And so that's where if I can do that in some way and somehow, I want to be able to do that. And I want my future to kind of, to hold that as well, if that makes sense. That's it. That's my goal right now. I think like physically, I just want to do things that make me happy and feel accomplished. I like the idea of like trying to look better right now. And for me, that could be maybe losing a little bit body fat, could be, it could be a number of things. It's not like this toxic mindset that I have, but I don't think I look at numbers the same way and, competitive nature the same way of training.
Well, I think it's a natural progression and development where you get into your 30s almost, and it's almost cliche, but things change. Everything becomes different. It's not so much about your physical accomplishments and such anymore, like in your 20s. And you realize there's like a lot more to life. There's a lot more depth. You just the maturity and maturing process of it all. So maturation. So I think isn't that kind of what you're saying? Like you're experiencing that now, where everything's shifting in your mind. It's not about accomplishing a physical goal so much as exploring what's out there and growing who you are.
Yeah, I went into training with this mindset, like just everyone's a killer and I want to kill with them. I want to like attack. And it was so fun. I would never take that moment away from my life because that's led me to where I'm at right now. Like taking 500 to 1,000 milligrams of caffeine, basically a gram of caffeine, and fucking training hard with Clarence or with somebody or John, Juji Mufu or you name it. Like that's where I was at. I wanted to do that. There's still a bit of that in me. Like that's still fun to me, but I feel as though like just connecting with people on potentially a different level and being able to show that and explore that with my audience is like ultimately the goal. And it's something that I can see that provides me with some sort of longevity. Because that's sort of the thing that we start to think about. Like you said, in your 30s, like you're thinking about your life. You have other people in your life, that you either need to provide for or you need to be there for. And you can't be this kind of fitness junkie. And I think it's an important step. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, as I've gotten older, I used to think balance was stupid. I was like, that's so dumb. Like, if you want to be awesome, you can't have balance.
And well, it kind of is. It like when you're younger, balance is fucking stupid. Like, go hard, bro. Like, I'm going to be the first person to say, if you feel some certain way, like lean into it as hard as you can. But you got to know when the shit's got to taper off. Sorry to interrupt. That's something where it's like, we can't just demonize the go hard, fuck it. Because if I remember Pete Rubish correct, like you were the hardest motherfucker in the gym, at least in your garage or your basement. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's cool as fuck. And like, that's a part of your past that makes you who you are now. And if you're happy and you're trying to be happy, like that, you can't exist now without that past self. So like lean the fuck in, if you want to go hard and you want to train every day, you want to train twice a day, you want to make some mistakes, go make some mistakes. But I guess learn as you go to have a plan, to have a future plan.
You have to know when to pivot.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I juiced my gills off in my 20s, but I knew, I saw people around me pass away. Like I legitimately saw friends pass away who were the same age. First one was obviously Dallas McCarver. I was around him all the time. We were at the same gym in Kentucky, the same gym in Tennessee. I wouldn't call him a friend, but I went over to Matt Jansen's house all the time, his trainer. So I was close. I saw these people, and he passed away at 26, and that was like a wake up call. I was like, okay, I thought at that age you're invincible. And he had the massive heart attack. And then like Chris Hickson was another guy who was really intense, came up with the Lilly Bridges. He passed away at 29. And then a year ago, same thing, Boston Lloyd, 29. I had texted the guy the day before. I was texting him 12 hours before he passed away. It's just, I saw this and I'm like, nobody's invincible. I went hard. I took all the steroids. I had a great time. Like you said, that's what people knew me from, the nostalgia of it all, the basement days. But I was like, I got to change. I want to live. I want to have a family. I want to have kids. And I was like, I have to pivot, and that's kind of what I feel like happens. So,
yeah, and that is why I feel so like invigorated by this current phase of your life, and like I'm just rooting for you. And there's so many people rooting for you. You're not a clown. Like you're not some guy who's just, you lift heavy weight, like maybe some people are going to bitch that you're not doing what you used to do. Fuck them, because you have the right to do other things in your life. And if your audience doesn't like it, like it really sucks. It's a shitty feeling. I deal with it all the time. but like I really think that the real ones are going to stay by you. And that is, I'm not afraid to experiment with content. And I know when people don't like what I post, and I get probably once a day. I miss the old Zack just doing technique videos on the snatch and the clean and jerk. And part of me is like, yeah, I miss that too. I've done it and I can't really repeat it again. I have repeated some ideas for my videos. But I'm a human being with interests and who wants to connect with people. And like, I want to take you with me. And I have every right to do that. And Pete Rubish has every right. You have every right to want to do that and display your journey and talk about it. But what I think is really cool is like guys like you, Bromley, me, the guys at Seek a Strength, like these kind of smaller, 10,000 to 100,000 sub channels. They will all support you. The fucking Bald Omni Man, Natural Hypertrophy. Who else? There's a bunch of guys.
Fitness,
yes. They're all going to support you. They're all going to be by your side. The Squat Everyday guy.
Ivan, yeah.
Ivan, yeah. Like, to me, like, it is cool. I love this group of guys. And
Candido too. I talk to him all the time.
I talk to Candido a decent amount as well. Yeah.
Do you ever feel like the content, does it ever feel forced? Do you ever have struggle with that? Do you ever struggle coming up with content?
Yeah, and I do. And that's another reason why I want a podcast, is because like I want to talk with people and like build something there. But the problem is like you won't get rewarded for podcasting, and it becomes a whole game of trying to get rewarded with views and all these different things and ideas. I have, the biggest suggestion I can make is if you ever have a conversation with someone about training and life, write down the topic and write down the 3 points of whatever that conversation is, and just try to build a video around that conversation, and it'll work.
Yeah.
It'll work because people want to hear what you have to say. They want a piece of you. And if you're able to display that conversation that you had, it's almost like you're having a conversation with the audience now. So that's what I try to do. But it's not always easy, and you don't always get rewarded for it, but you just kind of have to play the game in that way. But I think it would be really cool, man, to have like a small fitness gem, like expo thing. You know what I mean? Like a big meetup of all like the fucking fitness gems.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool, because most of these guys I haven't actually met in person. I've talked to you guys, via
DMs
and stuff,
yeah,
but it's not the same. But yeah, I mean, one thing I think with YouTube too, sometimes like I've played around with it a lot, and you will strike out on certain things where you're like, you think you have a good idea and you're like, I'm really presenting valuable information, and then the video bombs. And then you'll put something up that's more like more mass appealing, where it's very general and it's like it's whatever, and people love it. And I'm just like, all right, well, I try to present valuable information and it freaking bombs compared to.
You got to read the YouTube algorithm too, as like an Instagram algorithm. So some people just don't see videos.
Yeah, the algorithm's tricky. It's
very weird.
I've had videos bomb and I've had videos just take off, and I've never.
Sometimes people see them, sometimes they don't. Like I've had subscribers be like, I never saw this video. Like, when did you post this? I'm like, what do you mean?
It's so funny though, because anytime I would ever like talk about steroids through the ceiling, like people love that.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I would like to make a video with you on my channel, and maybe I could get you on for like 10 minutes, just like explaining your process. Do you have a doctor that you're working with?
I'm going to be honest. I get through all the blood work myself through Merrick.
You do? You worked with Merrick?
That's all the time. I have like a code on there, but I don't. It's not like
do you know Derek?
Yeah, a little bit. I not like real well. I've messaged, we've talked a little, but I use Merrick all the time because Merrick is the only site, or one of the only, I shouldn't say only, but that you can customize your blood work. So I can order exactly what I want to see. I
Yep.
go in, get blood work every 3 months or so because I love documenting it, proving. I
But
wish more
are you
guys would show
taking
blood work.
anything? Are you taking anything to like any PCT or anything like
No,
that?
dude,
Like,
I've been over 2 years clean. I'm adamant about this because I want to switch to drug tested USAPL. You have to be 3 years drug free. That time will come up in November. So after
right.
November, I'll be 3 years drug free. I can switch over to USAPL.
Are you
And I
gonna
want to,
do are you gonna do TRT when you get older?
I don't know. It's always there. TRT option is always there. People want me to jump right on it because I've tested my test levels, 10 times over the last 2 years. So it's not like a one-off. And they're always terrible. Like it'll
Yeah, of
vary from
course.
anywhere 250 to 400, which is not adequate at all. Um,
Yeah, but that's not
not optimal.
it's not yeah, it's not optimal, obviously, but like I don't know. It's just a fucking weird thing. Testosterone's weird, dude. It's so
Fever has
weird.
had yours checked.
Yeah, it was low as fuck.
What was it? Do you remember?
I think it was high threes.
That's why sometimes I'm like, maybe testosterone isn't the end all be all that we think.
I
Like,
don't think it is. I don't think it is, but I think that if I was to get it to 700, I think I would feel pretty fucking good.
yeah,
But like I don't know. I was in a pretty shitty place health wise, I think. Who knows? But I just don't, I've never felt, and this is probably because I'm hard on myself, but never felt like sound health wise, like really, really sound. Like I've put together like 6 months of like sleeping 7 to 8 hours, fucking, getting all my macros, getting my all, and like to the gym every other day or every day. Like I've never really put that together. The only times I've put hard training together was for weightlifting. And I would just, my whole goal was eat as much as I fucking can and lift as much as I fucking can. That was it. Like, shut up. I don't have time to fucking worry about anything. I'm doing a double session today. Like, I got my squat from 180 to 230, like 50 fucking kilos in a little over a year, maybe like 2 years. And that was because literally I think I definitely went 4 or 5 months without missing a session in the gym, like every single day, like no off days. And because I was just obsessed and I'm like, I'm a fucking tall, lanky piece of shit. I'm just going to squat as much as I can. Like for me, squatting 230 was like everything. It was like my whole world. And it changed me. It allowed me to make national championships. When I came into weightlifting, oh my God, that was such an impossibility. I remember looking at the totals to make national championships and being like, come on, that's not going to happen. You know, 7 years later, I fucking qualified. And like, so that was it for me. It wasn't like, and it would be hard for me to put that effort into meal prep, sleeping, all of the stuff that makes you a healthy person that would give you the testosterone levels that you would want. It's hard for me to do that,
Well, when was the
and that
last time you had
sucks.
blood work?
A while back, while back.
You got to do it. I just want to see people's because it's so fascinating to me. Like if I could see other guys, see what's going on, and you can check your health, see everything. Like I could tell you exactly what to get. It's very interesting stuff.
Yeah.
I love looking at blood work, analyzing it and stuff. Be
I
something.
love the shit that Derek does, man. I think it's really cool. I mean, I think
Now
it's
the million
really
dollar
worthwhile.
question too. Why didn't you ever use steroids? Was the temptation ever there?
Yeah, of course. I probably will. I'll probably do TRT.
Well, that's not like the all in fun. I'm gonna take Tren and shit. And
Oh
you're like,
no. That is never, no fucking way. Fuck that. No. No, I just want to like be able to use my body and be confident and have fun and like be like I've seen, someone at 32 with 32 to 40 years old. Like I think it's okay. I mean, I look like I started lifting weights at 13 years old. I'm 32. Like I'm not a young kid who's just learning how to train and wants to get big and is looking at bodybuilding. Like for me, it would be about like fucking having fun, like with my body. You know, I don't know how else to explain it. Like just feeling good in my body. And I feel like I've earned that. You know what I mean? Like, and that's something that I feel like TRT would be a possibility, but if not, it's not. I don't, you know.
Were you ever like around steroids, or did that temptation ever exist? Where you were like, someone was like,
I've been. I mean, I hang out with creators and people who are on gear all the time, and like I'm an odd man out. I don't fit in. You know,
you never were tempted. You never thought, what could I hit on this? What would I be? What would I look like? That never.
Oh no, of course it crossed my mind. Of course. But if I'm competing tested, like there's not a shot in hell I would do that. That's too scary. That's like frightening, you know? But now, I mean, yeah, now I would think it would be cool. But we'll see, you know, I don't know. I think I'm just too focused on being an artist almost, if that makes sense. I have ideas for videos and things that have never been done on YouTube. And like, that's what gets me going, dude. Like that is in my head. Like that's what's like, it like takes my breath away. The things that are possible in this world. Like there's a Senegalese weightlifter who like, I want to go out and visit and like, I want to go to fucking Senegal and like train. And I want to go to the Basque country in Spain and learn how to do stone lifting. And I want to go train with, I want to interview rock stars and see what they do for their health and fitness to get ready for tours. Like I'm in conversations with tour managers and shit to try and do that, because like, that's the shit that gets me going, like art and like entertainment. I love the weight room because it's just, for me personally, like I love it, but like, dude, art is my life. Like creativity is my life. Like I always tell people, I'm like, if I could, like music and film and television, but music mainly is here. Weightlifting is way down here. Like as far as what I care about and what like gets me going. And so for me, I just want to change the form a little bit. I want to do cool shit. Like Mr. Beast changed the form of YouTube by making it mainstream. Like he's like, what if I sunk, $2 million into a video? What would happen? And he did it and he got 1 billion views or some shit like that. Like, okay, what would happen if I started training with rock stars? I don't know. That's where my head's at. It's not so much like, what would I be if I took Tren Ace and fucking, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that part is always, yeah.
There's a lot more depth there in your 30s, I think. But I'm just curious if these thoughts were ever there. That's pretty funny. But you're obviously leaning into a different side of things than like the physical. And you've got that movie coming up. Have you like what's going on with this?
So what we're doing is we're shooting 4 scenes late February. So and then we are taking those 4 scenes, we're going, and we're taking those 4 scenes, and then we're going to try and pitch to, we have a few investors we're going to pitch with those scenes. And then either way, if there's no more money that comes into this thing, we're making it. If there is money, fuck yeah, like let's go. We're going to make a good ass movie. If there's not, we're still going to make a good ass movie, but it's like, we have to be smart and we have to work really, really in a different way. It's just a little bit more limiting, obviously, so that's, I'd say one of the goals that I have now is I'm actually in a pretty good place physically. We did a screen test and we like the way that I look. And I did do a little training for that. Like I was 220 pounds, less than that, 217 pounds when I was doing jujitsu, and I looked just gangly and wirely. So now I'm up to like 250.
Okay.
And that was probably a year ago.
Okay.
Maybe, but like I've been 260. Yeah. I've been 260 before, and I didn't probably more than a year ago. People are going to hear me say, oh, he put on fucking 30 pounds in 2 years. Like, he must be crazy. He's like, guys, a lot of it's fat. Okay. Like, a ton of it's fat.
It's the trend.
I'll show you right now. It's like, I don't know how much muscle was actually put on. Maybe it was like 5 pounds, which from going from not training at all, like literally, like I was in the weight room, I could hardly like squat, 300 pounds because I was killing myself in jiu-jitsu, to then going and PRing my back squat. It took a long, long time. I think I don't know the timeline on this shit. People are going to hear that and be like, "Oh, something's up here. It's crazy that he did that." It's like, no, I can promise you it's not that impressive. I slowed down a lot. I went from running miles in the morning to like eating shit every night and like trying to get big again. So yeah, we're doing the movie, man. Sense. Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you want basically with your life? Like, what are your goals? What do you want to look back on and say, that was cool. That's what I wanted to do.
I'm kind of figuring that out. I guess my goals are to have a good unit around me, whether that's a family, whether that's friends, and like be able to be present in that space. Because there's things I'm realizing now that's like, I'm trying to grow so much in this channel and podcasting and all that stuff. And it's sometimes it's very difficult to look around and like be in the real world with the people that I'm with. So whatever my future is, I want to be comfortable. So whatever that means is I can, be able to do what I want to do and be comfortable and have some money through that, but also be really just present and engaged. Hopefully have a family, hopefully have a nice house or something like that, and just be able to fucking relax. Like that is really, really what I want. Like, and I'm mind you, I'm still hungry. Like I realize, like, I think ultimately that would make me the happiest, but I don't know if I'd be able to do that unless I checked off some boxes. So maybe some goals are like, I don't know, fucking hit 250,000 subs on YouTube, then 1 million subs on YouTube, then, but I don't know. All I know is I'm trying to work as hard as I can to improve in some sort of measurable way each and every day. That's pretty much it.
Do you ever get discouraged with the progress or feel like it's not there?
Every day. It's tough. It's tough. Because it's just, YouTube is this game. It is this evil, sadistic game and content creation is. There's some people, and probably it happens to everyone, because at every metric you think you could do better. Like I imagine, like there are some people who are wildly successful that just like are feeling great, but I've seen really successful YouTubers be very stressed out. And I'm like, God, dude, if you knew how big you were or how good you're doing, like you would not have these feelings. But that's the scariest thing for me. And that's something that I deal with pretty much every day. It's like, this could have been better, or, things like that. So I guess, to go back to like my main goal is like, I just want to be able to get away from that at some point in my life.
Yeah, I almost feel like sometimes we get too married to the numbers, where it's like, even for me, I'm like, oh, it'd be really cool to hit 100K, it's so close. And you're always checking in, like, how's the channel growing, or how are these videos doing? And if a video does poorly, you take it personal and you get upset. And I think these are very normal feelings, just in terms of the world we're in and what we're trying to do. So I completely get that. I'm sure you've felt that. And it's tough.
Of course, man. But we got to keep grinding. Got to keep doing it.
And it's easy too, because sometimes I get, I'll let you go here in a sec, but I get to where I'm like, you almost don't want to lose track of everything right in front of you. Just like you said, like,
yes,
your family's here, people are here, and you get so caught up in this grind that you're like, crap, it's just the day flew by. So I'm trying to be more present.
Dude, same. 100, it's like, it's wild. I was at Wadapalooza, right? I don't know how many people, 50, 60, 70 people throughout the weekend came up to me and said, I love your channel.
Wow.
And like that was just fucking surreal. And I talked with every one of them at length because I want to know what they think and what they're, you know, and it was like I got back home and it's like none of that mattered. I was like, man, I'm shitting the bed as far as views go. Like, it's like, fuck, I hate. And it's the design of these apps. They make you feel like you're not doing well. Like people need to see what it actually looks like. Like, dashboard. Fewer regular viewers are watching this. I go to analytics. It's like your videos are attracting a smaller audience this week, contributing to 39% fewer channel views than usual. Last week, it's like I literally get reminders, hey, you're not doing good enough. Go. And like, fuck, like I got the opposite this weekend when a bunch of people were like, hey man, I fucking love your channel. Like it sounds silly because it's like I'm bitching about this, but that's what goes on in my mind. And I imagine it's kind of similar thing in your mind as well.
Yeah, it definitely is. Sometimes you see the kind of stuff that gets views and the channels that grow, and you're like, man, I'm trying to do it the right way. If you're trying to do it the right way and you see that, and it's just like, it's discouraging, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's hard not to get too attached to the numbers. And I kind of feel like a shell of what I used to be in a sense, because I used to like 2016, 17 in powerlifting. I mean, I was like the man. I was recognized everywhere. I got so much attention. My videos would get tons of views. And now it's just a fraction of that. And you have to learn to detach yourself from that, because your 15 minutes of fame is going to be everybody's. That's what happens.
Yeah. And man, honestly, that sucks. You need to look at that past self and be like, that version of me is literally impossible to withhold. You need that constant reminder. Like, I don't know how you're going to do it. Because that's bullshit. Like, I didn't really start rooting for you until this year, me personally. And I know there's a lot of people as well who feel the same way. And I don't give a fuck what you lift. I've seen you lift before, so it's cool. So I can be like, hey, remember when you fucking deadlifted 900 pounds? Like,
yeah,
I can, but I just like, I don't know. I'm interested in Pete Rubish now, and I know a lot of other people are. So I don't know how you cater to them. I don't know whatever that is, but I know people are out there that want you to keep going, doing whatever it is that you're doing. And I think it's fucking rad that you're like, no one else is doing this, Pete. No one is doing what you're doing. Not one person. And if anyone says, hey, why would you go completely off? Fuck them. Because I want to. Fuck off. Like, and if they say, okay, that's cool, then great. Climb on board. Well, like, dude, take 3 years off, go to tested powerlifting. Awesome. Cool as hell. No one else has done it that I know of. And you're sharing your journey. It's fucking amazing. It's an amazing journey.
Yeah, the love for the sport is still there. I love lifting, but it's I don't lift with anger anymore. Like, it's impossible. I can't get angry like I used to.
Yeah.
It's just more of an enjoyment kind of thing and lifting calmly. And so, yeah, I guess we just relate on that front as far as like, the struggles are similar. I don't think we're ever clear in life on like exactly what we're supposed to be or what the direction we're supposed to go. There's a lot of low points, but there's an equal number of high points, and you just have to be aware of that. So I totally get it.
Yeah.
But all right, man, I'm going to let you go. I don't want to hold you up any longer. I really appreciate you taking the time. So,
oh no, I appreciate being here, man.
That was good.
Yeah.
Like talking to you, buddy. But all right, man, I'll let you go, and I'll get this all loaded and everything. And thanks so much, brother.
Yep.